Chapter 13, Physics of Holographic Human Transformation. Physics is a science that deals with matter and energy and their interactions, the physical processes and phenomena of a particular system, and their physical properties and compositions. This is a natural science. Integrate, integrity, based upon structure, patterns and processes of natural system. Dimensional HH map of elements interrelated. Work unified in a parallel nature. Natural true self function. Elements interrelated. Similarity. Correspondence governs this. Process and structure. Characteristics strictly comparable. This is adding and inserting into the whole system. Integrity. Structures and processes unite to work in parallels based upon similarities. Integration of concepts. Principles, models, and programs already interrelated and interdependent in parallel. Unity. Conditions or processes, actions, events, based upon the multiplicand of purpose of totality. Similar parts, process governs function. Correspondence occurs dimensionally by direction, questioning, and modeling. Element, direction. As human beings, we get this based upon our past and based upon our senses of sound and sight. Guidance or supervision. Explicit instruction. Line or course on which something is moving or is aimed to move, or along which something is pointing or facing. A channel. Direct course of thought to action, of thought and effort. Element. Questioning. Human beings base this function on their present and based upon our senses of touch and energy, to ask a question of or about, doubt, dispute, to subject to analysis, inquire, alertly interested in finding out about things, curious, inquisitive, inquiring search. Antonym, incurious. Element, modeling. Human beings get this based upon the future and upon the sense of taste and smell. This aspect of correspondence is to plan or form after a pattern into a shape, to make into an organization, to produce a representation or simulation of. Display by using. Design or imitate a pattern. Characterization of, likeness, reproduction of, representation. Function is the purpose of action for which something exists. Mathematically assign one element of one set to each element of the same set or another set. A variable as a quality, trait, or measurement that depends on or varies with another element's contents. Relationship of elements, contents, is correspondence between function and operation, process. Unity of deviation, dissimilar of structure and patterns. Action for deviating structure or process may be taken by an event, condition, or process, times by the purpose, totality. Function of origin and purpose, the action for which a thing exists. Any of a group of related actions contributing to a larger action. A mathematical correspondence that assigns exactly one element of one set to each element of the same or another set. A variable as a quality, trait, or measurement that depends on and varies with another. Result. Function implies a definite and or purpose that the one in question serves or a particular kind of work it is intended to perform. Procedure. To act in a particular manner. Behave, operate, work, go, run, and operate. Mathematical correlation between sets. Element. Event. An observed physical reality represented by a point designated by 3 coordinates of place and 1 of time. Element, condition, is a premise upon which the fulfillment depends. The event is determined by the condition. Changing condition can put the event into a state, so an action or event associated with one becomes associated with another. Unity. Parallel, change. Condition by raising or doing something additionally. Element, process, integrating to generate automatic response. Program model. Similarities expand, add to bifurcation point. Correspondence governs function. Unity, deviations. Integration, crossover point. Principle of correspondence, the union of similar parts. Principle of unity, the union of parts that are dissimilar. Correspondence in unity makes reality work. Reality becomes functional in purpose. Wholeness Principle. Like the gravity that holds matter together, this comes from our fundamental choice to live. It's why what we resist persists. Nature free to live promotes integration. Correspondence. Dimensionality. 1. Direction. 2. Question. 3. Modeling. Systems are enmities or patterns that interact with each other for a process. The relationship between the parts are the fundamentals of its process. The conscious field is formed by a unifying force that is intelligent and aware. An individual's level of personal development can be measured by their ability to perceive the field in self and/or others. When the surrounding plummets, the center goes out. This leaves us out of balance, innocence, in no sense. Not recognizing it, nor can we pick up on it in any sense. Space between all components. Fundamental is synapsis. The spirit is the element within the synapsis, goes by and surrounds the physical. This is where correspondence transpires, the between, the synapsis. Totalities and elements for correspondence. Communication. 1. Mind, mental, perception. A. Identity, personality. B. Data. C. Models. D. Structure. E. Forming. F. Admit. G. Reception. H. Data processing. I. Transmit. J. Intent. K. Height. I. Delete. 2. Emotions. A. Communication, information processing and storage. B. Dialogue, new theories with patterns. C. Laws and experiences of new theories. D. Processes to natural change. E. Norm. F. Accept. G. Storage. H. Information patterns and storage. I. Receive. J. Context. K. Lateral. I. Insert. 3. Body, understand, discern. A. Transmit models, memories through language and behaviors. B. Knowledge, application, productive use of information and new theories for self and others. C. Worldview. D. Patterns, natural or chance configuration. Dissemble coherent system based on the intended interrelated workings of component parts. E. Fulfill, through integrative difference and modifications into the original patterns. F. Express. G. Transmit. H. Compressing for models. I. Message. J. Content. K. Depth. I. Permutation. HH dimensional map correspondence. Totalities and elements for transformation. Mental. Direction. Elements. Identity. Data. Structure. Forming. Admit. Perceive. Data processing. Transmit. Intent. Delete. Concepts with principles and models. Integration of unity for inherent senses of right and wrong. Integrate integrity, structure, unified with interrelated elements. Structure, similarity, correspondence, insert with processes of characteristics, add to or insert. Structure and processes unite based upon similarities. Unity of deviating structure takes action, event, conditions, and process. Emotional, questioning, integrate, integrity. Patterns to interrelated elements. Relationships of elements to its content. Principles already interrelated and interdependent. Elements, communication, information processing and storage. Information, dialogue, new theories with patterns. Processes, norm, accept, storage, information process and storage. Receive, context, insert. Physical, modeling. Correspondence governs function, purpose, and origin. Permutation, character or condition rearranges existing elements. Assign an element of one set to each element of the same or another set. Contents. Function governing. Do this based upon similar elements. Similarities and process. Integration of process of related elements. Deviating processes takes an event, condition, and process to structure. Elements. Transmit model through language and behaviors. No application. Patterns. Fulfilled. Express. Transmit. Compress for models. Message. Content. Permutation. All realities in our universe are made up of tiny atoms. These atoms, though small, take up space. These spaces of atoms, matter, are called dimensions. Atom, the smallest part of an element that can exist either alone or in combination. This is considered as a source of vast potential energy. Dimension, one of three coordinates determining a position in space of four coordinates determining a position in space and time, the range over which or the degree to which something extends. These dimensions are height vertical, is perpendicular to the plane of the horizon or to the primary axis upright. Depth sagittal, the direct linear measurement from front to back. Width lateral or horizontal, the horizontal measurement taken at right angles to the length. Totality, the state of being complete, entirety, wholeness. Totality models wholeness, the unifying force which holds us together. Inner unification comes from the macro system to live and to grow. This is the background for the saying, what we resist persists. Totality is the result of the wholeness principle. When the elements work together in unison, the totality of them just is. If the elements for any totality are not each doing their own function and working together, then the totality of them never will exist. There is a natural force which promotes the elements to work together as one for the sake of the totality. This natural force for wholeness promotes integration of all parts of us and all whole systems. The wholeness model is made of three separate systems known as elements and one totality level. One example of a totality is time. Time is a totality. Time just is. Nobody we know created it, yet it is a part of our lives. The totality of time is created by three separate elements of the whole of time, past, present, and future. If these elements of time are not unified, and we, for example, attempt to resist facing our past or planning or working on our future, time has a totality will not function to its potential. Wholeness Principle is a unifying force in each of us that holds us together. Inner unification comes from the macro system to live and to grow. The elements for any totality have specific function within the whole of the totality they are a part of. These elements know their function, purpose, structure, patterns, and processes. The fact that they are what they are means that they cannot be something they are not. The past is the past, the present is the present, and the future is the future. You cannot make the past be the present or anything else and have time be what it is to live and to grow as time. A natural desire for wholeness, unification, wellness that comes from each living, intelligent aspect of our being to be whole and healthy and apart with us. This is why what we resist persists. Resist the past being the past, and the past will persist. A unifying force that promotes integration of all aspects of our being. This unifying force is of nature, based on our fundamental choice to live. It wants us to live and wants to live as each individual cell, and so nature itself promotes integration of all our parts. Wholeness Principle, the unifying force which holds us together. Inner unification comes from the macro system to live and grow. What we resist persists. This force promotes integration of all our parts, so what we resist persists. The holographic human system is a whole system, wholeness principle. Learn the whole of the human system and learn to use the unifying force which holds us together. Inner unification comes from the macro system to live and to grow. What we resist persists. Integration of concepts, principles, models, and programs already interrelated and interdependent in parallel. Similar parts, process governs function. Function, purpose of action for which something exists. Mathematically assign one element of one set to each element of the same or another set. A variable as a quality, trait, or measurement that depends on or varies with another. Integrity. Structures and processes of natural systems unite to work in parallel based on similarities and correspondence. Integration. Concepts and principles, models, and programs interrelated and interdependent. Correspondence is the parts or processes of the same shape or form resonating as one. Unity is the continuity of deviations without deviation or change, as in purpose of the actions, events, conditions, or processes. These are to be based upon the multiplicand, the original purpose, or the totality. Wholeness Principle. Integration is the act or process or coordinating mental processes into a normal, effective personality or with an individual's environment. Integration also involves the operation of finding a function whose differential is known in the operation of solving a differential equation. Function represents purpose of an action, specifically fitted or used or for which something exists. Groups of elements or related actions contributing to a larger action. Mathematical correspondence that assigns exactly one element of one set to each element of the same or another set. A variable as a quality or trait or measurement that depends on and varies with another. Function relates to performance. Correspondence governs function. The word of is used to represent function. Of indicates the component material, parts, or elements or contents. Of, as a function word, indicates a part or point of reckoning, origin, or derivation, as well as a cause, motivator, or reason. The word of is used to indicate a whole of quantity from which a part is removed, deleted, or expanded, inserted, or rearranged, permutated, to indicate relationships, correspondence between a result determined by a function or operation, process, and a basic entity as an independent variable to indicate the characteristic or distinctive possession in time. Other ways of using the word of indicating function as for, as to, on, upon, concerning, pertaining. Dysfunction is a result of origin, purpose, process, deviating from itself. Another way is to say when you are off track. The union of parts that are dissimilar, structures and processings which deviate from one another in the same system. Action for deviating structure or process may be taken by an event, condition, and process and multiplied into purpose and or totality. Event, the fundamental entity of observed physical reality represented by a point designated by 3 coordinates of place and 1 of time in the space-time continuum postulated by the theory of relativity. Events are outcomes, something that happens. The fundamental entity observable with a physical reality. Events are done to achieve an end. Relativity, norm, a quality or state of being relative, something that is relative. 2, the state of being dependent for existence on or determined in nature. Value, or quality by relation to something else, a thing based on the 2 postulates. 1, that the speed of light in a vacuum is constant and independent of the source or observed, and 2, that the mathematical forms of the laws of physics are invariant in all the inertial systems, and which leads to the assertion of the equivalence of mass and energy and of change in mass, dimension, and time with increased velocity. An extension to the theory to include gravitation and related acceleration phenomena. Space-time continuum, a coherent whole, characterized as a collection, sequence, or progression of values, or elements varying by minute degrees. Good and bad stand at opposite ends of a continuum instead of describing the 2 halves of a line. Wayne Schumacher. The set of real numbers, including both the rationals and the irrationals, composite set which cannot be serrated into 2 sets, neither of which contain a limit point of the other. Space is a boundless 3-dimensional extent in which objects and events, conditions, or processes occur and have relative position and direction, infinite space and time. Condition, a premise upon which the fulfillment depends. The event itself is determined upon the condition. Condition is essential to the appearance or occurrence of the function of purpose. Conditions can restrict or modify the state of being of the purpose. Changing condition brings or puts the event into a specific state, adapting, modifying so an action or event associated with one becomes associated with another. condition may be raised or changed by doing something additionally. Process of time, a natural phenomenon marked by gradual changes that lead toward particular results, continuing natural activity or function, actions conducing to an end, prominent or projecting part of a living structure integrating sensory data so action occurs and an automatic response is generated. Synergy is the whole greater than the individual parts. This applies to everything. The interactions of two or more agents for a whole. Whatever the whole is, there are three aspects that are individual to the whole. Systems working together are synergetic. Systems are enmities or patterns that interact with each other for a process. The relationship between the parts is the fundamentals of its processes. The conscious field is formed by a unifying force that is intelligent and aware. An individual's level of personal development can be measured by their ability to perceive the field in self and others, and the synergy of the whole based on the correspondence and unity of the individual parts together. When the surrounding plummets, the center collapses, leaving us out of balance or innocence. In no sense, don't recognize it, nor can we pick up on it in any sense. Matrix. 1. Add. 2. Deviations with respect to time. 3. Multiplication with a multiplicand. Do this from the left to the right, finding the common denominator as it pertains to action, function, processes. Element. Function. Incremental change. This refers to small shifts in programs, models, or beliefs. Incremental change is endless change and is constantly going through the disorder process. As human beings, the information comes into us through our human senses. Human senses is how we experience our lives. From our conscious experience through our human senses, we create models of our world. These models become our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, our beliefs, values, lifestyles, and circumstances.